So NFL fans, Jaguar fans, and Falcons fans, we all saw some of the biggest news at the NFL trade deadline as the Jacksonville Jaguars had acquired wide receiver Calvin Ridley from the Atlanta Falcons. And I think that this is an absolute monster move for the Jacksonville Jaguars front office to not only help improve this wide receiver room right now, but to also help Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson take that next step up next season when Calvin Ridley will be available to be playing back football because he's currently serving that 2022 NFL full season suspension. But as you guys can see from the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about how Calvin Ridley can fit into this Jaguars offense and what he really brings for this Jacksonville Jaguars team. So I'm going to break this video down specifically into three parts. The first part, I'm going to talk about Calvin Ridley and his production since coming into the league back in 2018, what he's done on the field. The second part of this video, I'll talk about where this Jaguars offense currently is right now from watching every single game this season and where they kind of rank. And then also at the end of the video, I'll talk about how Trevor Lawrence, Doug Peterson, and Calvin Ridley is going to help make this offense take that next step, and it's going to help ascend a young franchise quarterback like Trevor Lawrence. So let's get right into today's video. So first and foremost, when we talk about Calvin Ridley and his young production in the NFL, he has been sensational since coming into the league out of Alabama back in 2008. He was actually taken with a 26 overall pick in that 2018 draft, just 2 picks before the Jaguars took Taven Bryan, which was one of the worst picks in our draft history. But when you look at Calvin Ridley, he made an immediate impact stepping into the league. Calvin Ridley in his rookie season had 64 receptions for 821 yards and 10 touchdowns. In 2019, he didn't take that next sophomore step up like you wanted to see. He had a relatively pedestrian year up to his standards, but still a solid year. 63 receptions, 866 yards, and 7 touchdowns. But in 2020, this is where Calvin Ridley ascended himself into that top 10 wide receiver echelon of group of receivers. He was automatically valued and widely regarded as one of the best route runners in the game alongside guys like Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, and the rest of these other great rounders, guys like Devontae Adams. In 2020, Calvin Ridley had 90 receptions for 1,374 yards and 9 touchdowns. And when you look at him in his overall career, Calvin Ridley has 248 receptions, 3,342 yards, and 28 touchdowns. And to put that all into perspective, as of right now, Calvin Ridley would be 4th on the Jaguars' all-time wide receiver list in terms of receiving yards, just behind Marcedes Lewis. That's how much production Calvin Ridley's had in the NFL since coming into the league. But when you look back at 2020, when he really burst out onto the scene and lamented himself as that top 10 wide receiver and ascended himself into that group and tier of receivers, Calvin Ridley that season had 8 100-yard receiving games, which led the NFL that season. He was also second team All-Pro. And you look at just how phenomenal and gifted this young player is. Calvin Ridley is phenomenal, and I'm excited to see just what he can do. Going back and really diving deep into what Calvin Ridley did in 2020, when I went back and I looked at a lot more of the film and I looked at a lot more of the game, Calvin Ridley clearly is one of the top 5 best route runners in the game from what we've last seen of him on the field. The way he's able to get off the line of scrimmage, his break off the line, the way he's able to wiggle and maneuver around corners, and also that vertical deep threat home run hit ability that he has can really open up an offense and really allow other guys like Christian Kirk and Zay Jones, which I'll get into in a little bit later on in the video, in order to let these guys thrive and flourish, because he's going to provide that red zone threat. He's going to be a guy who's going to be able to, like I said, take the top off of a defense. And we know at 6'1", coming in at around 200 pounds, he's going to be able to be a dominant physical specimen who I trust in order to get those 50-50 balls. And while Trevor Lawrence hasn't been perfect at taking these deep shots, Calvin Ridley is definitely going to help his ability and help open up this offense in a lot of different ways. Calvin Ridley truly is a special receiver from the last time that we've seen him on the field. So transitioning into the second topic, really talking about how the Jaguars have looked on offense and where they kind of are right now. The Jaguars offense has been relatively pedestrian at times. More often than not, the Jaguars run game will work, but the passing game is not quite there, or vice versa. The passing game is looking phenomenal, but the run game is non-existent for the Jaguars. The Jaguars have had a lot of inconsistencies on offense this season, and the Jaguars definitely need to do a better job there. But having a guy like a Calvin Ridley will definitely help open up and alleviate a lot of pressure off of these other skill position guys. But when you look at the Jaguars specifically in the red zone, the Jaguars are currently ranked number 24 in the NFL as of right now in terms of red zone efficiency. The Jaguars are only converting on 50% of their red zone opportunities, scoring in the red zone, whether that's field goals or touchdowns. More often than not, it feels like every other time the Jaguars are either fumbling in the red zone, they're throwing an interception of the 1-yard line. Trevor Lawrence has got to do a much better job with that and just playing smarter football, or the Jaguars are just having a turnover on downs in the red zone, and a guy like Calvin Ridley is definitely going to be able to help open up that missing piece in the red zone. And the thing that I absolutely love specifically about watching the Jaguars offense right now and just imagining where a guy like Calvin Ridley could be is the fact that Trevor Lawrence has only had a 49-yard deep bomb this year, which is his longest throw of the season. And Christian Kirk, we've seen he is playing phenomenal out of the slot when he's getting his opportunities and he's getting his touches. He's easily been the Jaguars' best receiver so far this season, but this is where Christian Kirk is going to absolutely flourish. But just really envisioning and seeing what the Jaguars offense does right now, imagining Calvin Ridley on the outside, moving Christian Kirk into the slot where he's in his natural position and in his natural element, where he can really flourish. Christian Kirk next season is going to be a top 5 wide receiver at the number 2 receiver position. Like when you talk about guys like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams being a great number 2, you're talking about Chris Godwin being a great number 2, even though he hasn't had that level of production quite this season, or maybe Devontae Smith. You look at all these great number 2s in the league. Christian Kirk, when he moves back into the slot next season and he can really be that number 2, he's going to absolutely flourish, and his contract's going to look significantly better for what the Jaguars are going to be giving him in terms of value. And then transitioning into the last topic of this video, really with Trevor Lawrence and helping your young franchise quarterback ascend and take that next step. The Jaguars took Trevor Lawrence overall number 1 in the 2021 draft. And he's been a little bit inconsistent here and there. We all understand his rookie season was not the best out show. 3,641 yards, 12 touchdowns, 17 interceptions. And as of right now, Trevor Lawrence is 1,840 yards, which is 11th in the NFL. 10 touchdowns, tied for 12th. 6 interceptions, tied for 22nd. His quarterback rating scale of 0 to 100 is at a 46 right now, which is 21st in the NFL. And his longest passing play of his young NFL career is 58 yards, but 49 yards this season. Trevor Lawrence has just been, a relatively pedestrian quarterback this year. And honestly, it's understandable. He's going to go through his ups and downs. He's going to be struggling quite a bit considering the fact that it's a first-year offense. He's only in his second league in the year. And the Jaguars' skill position players are significantly improved from last season, but it's still not perfect. But adding in a guy like Calvin Ridley is going to help the Jaguars. Look at NFL franchises all across the league that have young franchise quarterbacks that they believe in. They go out and they go and get talented skill position players to put around them. Look at what the Philadelphia Eagles and Howie Roseman did for Jalen Hurts. They went and acquired A.J. Brown. They went and got Devontae Smith in the draft, and look at how much that significantly helped Jalen Hurts ascend him to an MVP level. Look at Tua Tagovailoa and what the Miami Dolphins have done in order to get Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Look at Cincinnati and what they did for Joe Burrow, acquiring Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and all these great skill position players that they've got. You look everywhere across the league. You have a young franchise quarterback you believe in, you go and put pieces around him in order to help him succeed and take that next step. Trevor Lawrence has not been perfect. He's only 23 years of age, but Trevor Lawrence has shown a lot of ability and a lot of promise in his young time in the NFL. And the Jaguars and a lot of Jaguar fans still have Trevor Lawrence's support. And Calvin Ridley's going to come in and make an immediate impact for Trevor Lawrence in this offense next season. And the last thing I'm going to say with this video, a little bonus I'm going to throw in, is a lot of Jaguar fans and a lot of NFL fans compare Trevor Lawrence's timeline really to a guy like Josh Allen over in Buffalo. And when you talk about it, you look at what they've done and how much Trevor Lawrence and Josh Allen really have struggled through their first 2 years of their NFL careers. Josh Allen in his rookie season was 10 touchdowns to 12 interceptions and had a 53% completion percentage, so a pretty bad rookie season, even though he was kind of thrown into the wolves. His second season in the league, he took a little bit of a step up, but Josh Allen didn't really take that next step all the way that you wanted to see out of a franchise quarterback. In 2019, Josh Allen had a 58% completion percentage, 20 touchdowns to 9 interceptions, but his third season, heading into his third season, the Buffalo Bills went and acquired one of the best young wide receivers in the game and a top 5 receiver in football right now in Stephon Diggs. And Josh Allen in his third season had a 69% completion percentage, 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, ascended himself as one of the best young quarterbacks in the game. And we all understand the arm talent and the dual threat ability that a guy like Josh Allen has. And look at what Stephon Diggs did in Josh Allen's third season and in their first season together. Stephon Diggs had 127 receptions, 1,535 yards, and 8 touchdowns. You go and get your young franchise quarterback, an elite number 1, and you put good skill position players around him, your quarterback is bound to take a next step up, and there's going to be no excuses for Trevor Lawrence next season. Going into another year, in year 3, with more of a resume under his belt, more experience, another year of experience under this offense, and some more great skill position players around him, especially when we build through the draft. Maybe Quentin Johnson too, but I'll pump the brakes. But NFL fans and Jaguar fans, I want to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. below. What do you guys make of the Jaguars acquiring Calvin Ridley from the Atlanta Falcons? And also, how much of an impact do you think that this is going to make on the Jaguars offense and Trevor Lawrence specifically? Please let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But if you guys enjoyed today's video, man, make sure you guys drop me a thumbs up. It takes 1 second and it helps me and the channel out tremendously. And if you guys are new here, consider hitting that subscribe bell to stay tuned for more NBA, UCF, and of course, Jaguars content that I do here on YouTube. And make sure y'all go follow me on my socials, especially on Twitter. I'm very active and I'm on there every single day. The link tree will be in the description down below. But thanks again for sticking around throughout the whole video. Brett James, aka BJ, I'm out, y'all. Go Jags, baby. Peace.